What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Fantasy Football Busters podcast. We got another good one coming in for you today. We got a Week 7 fantasy recap. We're going through all the games this week. And my name's Eric. I'm joined by my lovely co-host William over here. How you doing
Oh,
today, man?
well, we pulling out the full governments. We got the William going on over here. No, I'm doing great, man. Just another great week of football. A lot of shit happened this past week, and I'm ready. I'm excited to get into it, honestly.
Heck yeah. But before we do, I just want to bring up to you guys, we're putting out a bunch of content. If you guys can like and subscribe, that would be fantastic, super helpful. And also, it'll make sure that you're seeing all of our next videos coming out down the line to help you guys out. And we're giving out free fantasy advice, man. No paywall, no subscription, no Patreon, none of that stuff. If you want to put it down in the comments below, if you want to hit us up on TikTok or DM us on Twitter, all of the links to that are down below. Hit us up with your fantasy questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Also, if you want your personal sit start questions answered in our next sit start video, which I believe will come out like Thursday or Friday, hit us
Mhm.
up before Wednesday night and we'll put that in our video. We'll get your personal questions answered in that video. So hit us up if you got anything like that. But we got a long video ahead of us, so let's get right into it. Week 7 recap, starting with the Thursday night game, Cardinals versus Saints. Cardinals with a big win, 42 to 34. A lot of defensive scores in this one off of Andy Dalton interceptions. I'll throw this one to you. What are your big takeaways from this Arizona New Orleans?
My big takeaways: Kyler Murray continues to just kind of be unimpressive going forward, but that also doesn't mean that he can't create a good fantasy football option in terms of his wide receivers because D Hop went crazy this past week. His target share was insane. He had 14 targets on the game. I believe the next highest was 5 for Benjamin. So yeah, D Hop definitely in that alpha role right now for this offense. Turn that into 10 catches for 103 yards, and then Benjamin still being extremely efficient at the running back position. So yeah, it's James Conner's going to be back soon, but it's hard to see that this goes strictly back to being the James Conner show after what Benjamin has done. So I guess brighter fields ahead for the Arizona Cardinals, and then for the New Orleans Saints. Andy Dalton, as long as Andy Dalton is the quarterback, it seemed like Alvin Kamara is going to sort of thrive. He's in sort of a role where, he does like to check down to the running backs, and that's benefited Alvin Kamara greatly in these past few weeks. And Chris Olave, just sort of a certified stud at this point. He's just really
Yeah.
good. Doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball. And I'm going to let you have this last one because this is one, right now, you have it as we called it. Nah, brother, that was all you. So let's get some insight on this one, man.
I appreciate you. Jawan Johnson, the blow up game in a perfect matchup versus the Arizona Cardinals. We talked about it in our sit start. I talked about it on the waiver show, I think. Jawan Johnson, this was just his smash spot. I saw it coming. We had 2 tutties on the night. Great night for him. I don't really see this continuing down the line in future matchups, but this one was just a perfect spot for it. So I'm glad we got that information out to the people.
Hell yeah, that and honestly, it was awesome because it benefited me as well. I was a non-believer, not even a non-believer, but Eric made me a believer, and it's just the proof to see that you got to look at these matchups for these teams. So yeah, that's all I've really got to say for this matchup. It's exciting things going forward, but at the same time, not Black Ops, Modern Warfare 2 comes out this weekend, so I don't know how great that bodes for Kyler going forward, but
Yeah,
yeah.
facts. Important to note. Let's get into our next matchup: the Ravens versus the Browns. This was a tight one, 23-20 victory for the Ravens. Lamar has continued to be pretty disappointing over the past 3 weeks. Gus Edwards comes back. We got a lot of things shifting around for this offense. What were your takeaways here?
Yeah, it looks like Gus Edwards was able to just slot right into that not an alpha dog running back role, but at the same time, yes, it is an alpha dog running back role. It's yeah, he was able to come back. First game back since the ACL tear, was able to turn that into 2 touchdowns and just kind of like an overall good game. I can't even say it was a touchdown dependent game. He was very involved and he had all the opportunity there. So, it was encouraging to see going forward. And Lamar's hitting his struggles, hasn't scored over 16 points since week 3, as Eric kind of stated before. But I expect better things coming for Lamar in the future. I think things are going to step back up again. Rashad Bateman, he was the leading receiver in his first game back off a foot injury, which was very encouraging. But Lamar only completed 9 passes, so that doesn't really mean too much. But was good to see that at least in those 9 passes, Bateman was one that he was looking to often and early. So it's always good. And Mark Andrews didn't really do anything this week. I kind of expected it because he didn't practice this entire week.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just he was probably out there for a lot of decoy purposes, but the injuries probably held him back a ton. And for the Cleveland Browns, Nick Chubb, he's amazing. He's one of the best running backs in the league and continues to do so on a team that honestly he probably shouldn't be doing stuff like this on, but he's going to continue to do it. Kareem Hunt was able to score a touchdown, but overall, just not looking great as he has in prior weeks. He's looking to be a touchdown dependent option in fantasy, not quite the flex option we thought he was. And David Njoku, as we talked about on our injury and news recap that you guys can check out, had another great day, but also suffered a high ankle sprain, so wasn't able to return to action. Might be out for a few weeks going forward. Do you have anything that you want to add to this?
Just overall takeaways. I'm
Mm-hmm.
hoping that this bodes well for Bateman going forward. Like you said, he was the leading receiver. Hopefully, once he gets back to full speed and gets back his full share of snaps, this will lead to fantasy production. Andrews, I'm not worried about. Hopefully, that was just an injury issue and not a usage thing. I don't know why they would completely phase him out like that. Kareem Hunt, like we said, he scored. He didn't look great, but he's sounds like he's on the trade block, so he might end up somewhere new. Could bump his fantasy value up by a little bit. I think he's been inefficient and not as good of a runner as he was early in his career, but still, if he goes to the right situation, it could be good for him.
Mm-hmm.
And just Njoku, sad to hear because in the tight end landscape that we have right now, it's rough out there, and losing another guy like this is tough.
Especially like you said in our last video, David Njoku kind of having a breakout year right now.
Yeah,
But yeah, you hate to see it, but yeah, it's a lot to look forward to. At least with Nick Chubb, it's looking like he was a good pick. And Njoku should be back soon. Hunt, kind of a surprise that the Jets didn't pick him up. To be honest with you, if they were going out and
yeah.
looking for a running back, that they got James Robinson, it makes sense. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised. But yeah, that's all I really got for that game as well.
All right, let's keep it rolling on to the Panthers versus the Bucks. What the heck is going on in the NFL? What are the Buccaneers doing? Panthers just completely destroy the Buccaneers 21-3. Brady continues to struggle. This offense couldn't really get much going. Deonta Foreman and Chuba Hubbard said, "Who's Christian McCaffrey? I am." It was crazy. It was crazy in this one. I want to hear your thoughts.
Oh yeah, Tom Brady, he's having marital issues, so he's struggling right now. Um, we just gotta hope for the best. I, you want to, you hate to bet against Tom Brady, but this is one of those situations where this is non-football related. We can't say he can really grit his way through this one because this is a real life thing that he's got going on. We've never seen anything like this before, honestly. So hopefully he gets it back together. But yeah, I think he's got a decent reason. But at the same time, you shouldn't be playing NFL football if that's going to hold you up from it. But I think the biggest story that we got this weekend was actually in the running back room with Leonard Fournette and Rashad White. This is the closest that they had to sort of like a 50-50 split so far in terms of like both of them being on the field and getting used. Fournette kind of struggling and Rashad White doing decently well. What do you think about the running back room here with Tampa Bay?
I think we've just seen this in games where they struggle. They just try to switch it up. When Lenny couldn't get it going on the ground, they tried to get Rashad White in there. He did a little bit better, but it wasn't that much of a difference maker either. I think in game scripts where they're close or leading, we're going to see Fournette still, unless they're like dominating, and then yeah, Rashad White might come spell him. But I'm not too worried about like a takeover in this backfield from Rashad White. But I am nervous that Fournette didn't see a ton of targets in this game.
Yeah, I think he saw one more target than Rashad White did. I think Rashad White had two.
Yeah,
Fournette finished with three. But it's brighter
and it,
things ahead. This offense is too good to keep struggling like this.
I hope.
I
I
hope.
hope they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one that I saw Eric get tweeted about because I know he has him on his fantasy football team. Mike Evans had an egregious 75-yard touchdown drop.
I don't
Uh,
know if it was 75 yards. I think it might have been from the 35, but still, just
okay.
a massive walk-in touchdown.
Yeah, it was wide open and dropped it. Still able to put up good points, but it always hurts to see stuff like that. And Chris Godwin still getting super heavily targeted in this offense, as we kind of expected. Last year he was heavily targeted before the injury. This year, since coming back, he's been heavily targeted, and he's not able to have a great game with it, but it's still good underlying stats going forward. The fact that he is getting targeted this much and they trust him as much as they do. And Cade Otton actually looked pretty good this past weekend. I know
Yeah,
we had talked about Cade Otton versus Juwan Johnson last week, and it turns out neither one was really a bad start. Juwan Johnson, obviously, the better start, but Cade Otton looking good. And just to talk
yeah,
about Carolina for a little bit, we got DJ Moore came back. Honestly, uh, PJ Walker was known for targeting DJ Moore a lot, and he kind of got back to that this game. He was only get he was the only receiver to get more than 2 catches, which is kind of wild to say, and especially when they beat the shit out of the Bucks like this. But they were able to get up early, and the run game was able to take over, like Eric said, with Foreman and Hubbard just carving up a Tampa Bay run defense that we thought was stout and elite, but apparently not.
yeah. Just a shocker of a game. Another crazy upset loss for the Bucks after coming off a loss to the Steelers last week. I'm not sure what to think of this Bucks team. We'll have to see what happens going forward. But super, super encouraging news for DJ Moore. He looked fantastic in this game. I thought he was balling, and PJ Walker, like you said, looked for him early in offense. So that's great. He's back on our fantasy radars. Let's move on to our next matchup. We had the Bengals taking on the Falcons. Bengals blew the doors off the Falcons 35-17. Joe Shiesty just went off. He almost put up 500 yards in this game, man. So
Yeah.
clearly, like, all of the receiving weapons popped off. Joe Mixon had a decent game as well. And Atlanta, what are the coaches doing, man? You're down by multiple scores the whole game, and you just keep running the ball. What did you think of all this, Will?
Hey man, it's like Arthur Smith said, the guys who need the ball, the ball will find them, That's really all I've got to say about this Falcons team. Because they say stupid shit like that.
The ball can't find them when it's in Caleb Huntley's hands or
Yeah.
Tyler Algier's hands. How's it going to find them?
I don't know, man. Ask Arthur Smith because he's the one who wanted to get all snippy with people. That's why I hate that shit.
Yeah.
But hey, if they want to fucking lose, that's on them. They want to be losers. That's their choice. But like you said,
edit, I'm going to die. Oh, shit.
yeah, like you said, Joe Shiesty able to have an amazing game. We've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks. This offensive line has sort of been struggling, but it seems as if these last few weeks they've been finding their footing and they've been getting it back together. And this turned into a great game for just everybody all around. Joe Mixon able to have a pretty good game, 58 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Also able to get 3 catches for 33 yards. So still involved all around. Could have had a better game, but do you have anything do you want to say about Joe Mixon? I know we've been talking about it for a little bit.
Yeah, so he's kind of been like a roller coaster of a player in terms of my opinion on him. I guess he's been fairly consistent as a producer. I put on here that he could have done more because his expected fantasy points per game, I think, has led the league. He might be trailing Austin Eckler now with all of the receiving opportunities, but he's been one of the top 3 running backs in the league in expected fantasy points. And has just been underperforming those expectations, but still putting up usable weeks. So I think he might actually be a buy low candidate if that's possible. Tough to say when he puts up like 16 points, but
Not to say. It's one of those where people trust the name and trust the team. They might go for it still. So I see that happening.
yeah.
And then we got Jamar Chase and Tyler Boyd, both going for more than 25 points this weekend. Both popped the fuck off as we love to see. Jamar Chase having an amazing game, Tyler Boyd having his yearly amazing game, and we got T. Higgins, who still might not be 100% healthy, but he went 5 for 93 this weekend as well, so still pretty involved with this offense, even though he's not at 100%. So that's encouraging to see.
He's definitely a buy low candidate. We talked about that last week. I'm going to say it again. He's going to get more involved once he gets 100% healthy, and he's going to smash.
Hell yeah. And then, as we talked about Atlanta, I don't really want to dwell on this for too long, but in the game where they were behind the entire time, they still only threw the ball 13 times. So I just don't know what the fuck they're doing over there. None of these receivers are going to be fantasy options until they get it together. Kyle Pitts is not going to be a fantasy option until they get it together. They just have no real identity over there in Atlanta. And I'm hoping that changes with a few personnel changes, but hopefully, who knows? But Tyler Algier able to take the lead running back duties with 16 carries for 50 yards and the touchdown. Not an overly impressive day, but a fantasy viable day. It's just team's kind of a shit show, and it's more so from a like a personnel perspective even than the player perspective. So that's all I've really got to say on this game right here.
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. We can move on to the Cowboys Lions game. Cowboys mop the floor with the Lions, 24-6. This Lions offense just hasn't found its stride since they lost to the New England Patriots before the bye week. They were one of the top offenses in the league, and they've been struggling since. Dallas's defense really stepped up in this one and just pounded the rock. Zeke and Pollard both had good games. What were your takeaways from these two teams?
I think my biggest takeaway was, Zeke and Pollard did well, but it kind of attests to what we had talked about in the offseason, where there's going to be a lot of games where Tony Pollard looks like he is the better running back option, but Zeke is the more trusted running back option. And that showed with the 2 touchdowns the 2 goal line carries they gave him. He's still their guy. Dak didn't really have to do too much. So in terms of his capabilities, we don't know what it's going to look like when he does get pushed, and he actually gets tested. But at the same time, he was able to come out there and have a really good game. 19 for 25, threw a touchdown, 207 yards. It's a decent game back. And the Dallas defense is probably the biggest story out of all of this because they were just dominant throughout all of this, especially against a Lions team that before, the bye week, before their down week against, right before the bye week, who was that against? The Colts or who? I don't remember who it was they played that they got shut out by. It might have been the Patriots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Detroit's offense?
Yeah.
It was the Patriots.
But it's just this Detroit offense has been struggling. They have been struggling, and the Dallas defense took advantage of that, and they scored more points than any player in this game. And CeeDee Lamb and Dalton Schultz able to have decent games. Nothing super spectacular. CeeDee Lamb definitely not giving people what they expected out of him with the draft capital they probably used on him, but hopefully that changes going forward with Dak back at the helm and, they get back into a groove. And as for Detroit, we talked about this again in our injury recap video, but Amon-Ra St. Brown left the game early in the first quarter with concussion symptoms. It was ataxia. They, was kind of stumbling around, so they took him out. And Khalif Raymond was able to come in, sort of picked up the slack and had a decent day. I don't really know anybody that started Khalif Raymond, but, it's somebody to look to in case there is someone that goes down in this wide receiver room, especially Amon-Ra St. Brown. We see him that he gets slotted into that role. And DeAndre Swift, we thought he was going to play after the bye week. They gave him that extra week to rest and still wasn't quite ready. They're saying it's going to take at least one more week. So Jamal Williams was the lead back. He fumbled on the goal line, so he didn't really have a great fantasy day. I think he finished with like 6 points in full PPR leagues. So nothing amazing there, really. There's not really much I've got to say about this game except I hope this Detroit Lions team is able to find the same strides they had found early on in the season. But
yeah,
there's no real telling, to be honest.
Yeah, no, totally agree. Still trying to recover from that coughing fit earlier. Sorry. But yeah, Detroit was like one of the better fantasy offenses that we had in the league, and they haven't been that for the past few weeks. So hopefully they can rebound. Let's move on to our next matchup: Jaguars versus the Giants. The Giants pull out another victory, and they go to 6-1, I believe, 23-17 over the Jaguars. Daniel Jones running all over the place, over 100 yards, even on still kind of a bum ankle. And then I can't wait to talk more in depth about it, but ETN season. Okay, sorry, y'all. Round 2, I'm back again. ETN season is upon us. I love it. I'm here for it. James Robinson got iced out in this game, and now he's traded. So, big news for ETN truthers. What were your takeaways from this game, Will?
Hey, man, Daniel Jones, honestly, kind of looking like a fantasy option. Honestly, like let's talk about it a little bit. Like he's got, like you said, he's got this huge rushing floor. I think this is the last 2 games he's had at least 60 rushing yards, at least. Like he's been putting yards up on the board, and last week put up 28. So, I'm not saying go out and scoop Daniel Jones right now, but he could be an option for those of you, especially you Russell Wilson owners out there. Like if you're looking at Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones might be the better option. Saquon continues to make us look like fucking gods because he continues to eat every week. He is the guy.
Let's go.
We said he was going to be a top 5 at least fantasy football option at running back, and he's outperforming that even. I believe he's at the running back 3 right now, possibly running back 2.
Put the stamp on it, baby.
Yeah, he's
going off.
We're fucking amazing at this, guys. Come on. And
we do this.
Yeah. And we got Wan'Dale Robinson, who went 6 for 50 in the first half before he got hurt. So that's great things going forward, especially if he's able to come back. They weren't really specific with his injury, but at least we're hopeful that he's able to come back soon. But we'll get more news on that going into this week when we start getting practice reports, stuff like that. And like Rob, I said Rob, Jesus, damn, I am so sorry I did that to you.
You good? It's all right.
But like Eric said, ETN season is upon us. Finally. In like the best of ways even. It's not even James Robinson has been relegated, which he was last week, and we got to see what that looked like. But it is fully Travis Etienne is the best option out there right now. He is the best guy. He is the running back. He's the guy that they trust. And they showed that with shipping out J-Rob. So he's not going to be able to get in the way of that anymore. And Christian Kirk, able to have a bounce back game that we had talked about, that we have been waiting for weeks, because it just didn't make sense for him to not be a top receiver in this offense. And he was finally able to do that again this week. Able to turn that into, I believe, he had one rush for 5 yards. That was weird. And he also had 7 catches for 96 yards. Not able to find the end zone, but still very encouraging going forward, especially coming off of 10 targets. And it's looking like this team is actually going to be throwing the ball a lot, because we have a few fantasy football options on this team. We got Evan Ingram at the tight end position holding it down. We have Marvin Jones Jr. and Zay Jones, all able to be used as sort of viable fantasy options. They've all been performing pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah, encouraging signs from this as a passing offense. A lot of people getting involved, so you love to see that. We'll move on to the next matchup and hustle this up just a little bit. Commanders versus Packers. Somehow the Commanders take out. I shouldn't say somehow. This Packers team has been really struggling as of late. But yeah, Aaron Jones with his bounce back, the lone bright spot for Green Bay, putting up over 24 points and getting really involved in the passing game. You love to see it. I don't have a ton of super crazy highlights. What did you think of this game?
Yeah, it was one of those games where I think it was going to be closer than a lot of people gave it credit for. This Packers team has been struggling. Aaron Jones doing extremely well. Aaron Rodgers kind of seeming like he didn't really want to be out there after a certain point. Like he just didn't really want to win the game anymore. I think that's what it all kind of came down to. Alan Lazard having a good game before he got hurt. Romeo Doubs disappeared. Just goose egg. I don't know what this Packers team's identity is right now, except for Aaron Jones. So Aaron Jones owners, I wouldn't even really be excited too much. Like he is getting the majority of the backfield, but this team is struggling. So we got to see how they go going forward. Taylor Heineke able to get it done for Washington. How do you feel about Taylor Heineke in fantasy?
Can't trust him. He didn't put up a good game this week, even in a win. I think it was like 14 points or something like that. And he started off the game really bad, threw an egregious interception. So I'm not going to trust him going forward.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then getting to the Commanders' backfield, Brian Robinson able to get 20 carries in his second career start, but he's not looking very explosive. He's not looking like a guy who's going to get any type of real breakout runs, anything like that. He's going to be a guy who's going to get you 5 or 6, maybe 10, get tackled. Cool, good shit. You did what we put you in there for. Gibby's looking like the more dynamic back, but I feel like he's still got a ways to go before he earns his team's trust to get really back into that lead back role. But it's going to be interesting going forward with this. And then Terry McLaurin looked good again with Taylor Heineke throwing on the ball. Went 5 for 73 and a touchdown. It's clear that Taylor Heineke has built up that chemistry with Terry McLaurin. He's been working with him for the last 2 years, so kind of makes sense. And Curtis Samuel still able to have a decent game as well. Still 5 catches, 53 yards. Not able to see the end zone, but still just as targeted as Terry McLaurin as well. So it is good to see that is still trending in that direction. And that's all I've really got to say for this game, too.
Yeah, hopefully this bodes well for McLaurin going forward. He did get a lot of that production on the one long touchdown pass, but hopefully that rapport that he's built with Heineke continues as we go on throughout the season. Into our next matchup, Titans versus Colts. A pretty low-scoring affair here. Titans win 19-10. The Titans, it was all their defense that really led the way, and Matt Ryan just throwing the ball to the other team. King Henry also had himself a fantastic game, but this was a pretty ugly matchup on both sides of the ball. Did you have any big takeaways from this one?
Nah, my biggest takeaway was I wish Ryan Tannehill had stayed hurt. And
You want Malik Willis, baby.
I want Malik Willis, bro. And, Tennessee's defense did really well, but I wouldn't take this as Tennessee's defense is elite because they haven't been elite this whole season. Matt Ryan's just really, really fucking bad.
Yeah.
King Henry's looking like the only player that's really worth starting for the Tennessee Titans right now. We're kind of waiting to see till Traylon Burks gets back. That might change a little bit, but stuff's been kind of weird over in Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then, like I said earlier, Matt Ryan, fucking terrible. Got benched for the rest of the season, at least until further notice for Sam Ehlinger. Nick Foles has been moved to the number 2 spot. And Jonathan Taylor came back. This is his first game back from injury. Wasn't able to get a full workload back, but was still able to, why am I blanking right now? Still able to have a productive day. Got 8 targets, turned 7 of those into catches. Both of those are career highs for Jonathan Taylor. So kind of like we had talked about last week where we had hoped Deion Jackson his role would sort of foreshadow what Jonathan Taylor was going to do coming back. And that seems to be the case. And so there's greener pastures ahead for Jonathan Taylor owners. And Paris Campbell, leading receiver, not Michael Pittman.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that one. Paris Campbell putting together 2 games in a row where he's actually been really fantasy viable. I do apologize. I'm going to have to continue clearing my throat. I have water in my lungs. It's rough. Sorry for the audio. But yeah, Paris Campbell, I guess, is going to have to be somebody we look at on fantasy waiver wires this week. If he continues doing this, we'll see what changes with Sam Ehlinger. I'm definitely curious to see how that changes up this offense. But I think my biggest takeaway from this game is, like you said, Deion Jackson's role as a receiver in the running game did transfer over to JT, and that's going to mean really good things for him going forward.
Yes, greener pastures definitely ahead on that one.
Yeah, so that leads us into our next matchup, the Raiders versus the Texans. This one was really just the running back duel. That was kind of almost all that was going on. The Raiders take this one 38-20. Josh Jacobs absolutely exploding for the 3rd straight week, and Dameon Pierce looking pretty good again too. Do you have anything else to add to that?
I don't really have anything to add. I'm sorry, Josh Jacobs. I'm sorry.
We all doubted him.
Yeah.
We were very, very, very wrong. So yeah, Josh Jacobs dunking on everybody.
Yeah, that's all I've really got. Devontae Adams is a beast, still dominating the target share. Matt Collins got the lone passing TD of the day, but it's still at least. I'm not going to say Matt Collins worth rostering, but worth taking a look at, especially if something were to happen to Devontae Adams, God forbid. But, he's still going to be very involved. And then, like you said about Dameon Pierce, he's looking like the only player that's really startable in this Texans offense at all. Brandon Cooks not really getting it done. They're not getting anything done through the air, honestly. So it's just, yeah, Dameon Pierce able to get 20 carries for, 92 yards?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so decent on the day. Nothing really else to talk about, honestly.
Yep. We'll move on to another boring matchup, Broncos versus Jets. Battle of the mid. Jets win 16-9. The big story in this one is that Breece Hall went down with an ACL injury. He's done for the year. Very, very sad. He was really starting to take off in real life, in fantasy, all of it. So it sucks to see him go down. Both of these teams are terrible. I don't have a ton to say. What do you got for this one, Will?
Yeah, it sucks to see Breece Hall go down like that. He was sort of one of those rising stars in the league that we were all excited to see. Everybody's excited before the season, so it sucks to see him go. And Zach Wilson fucking sucks, but, we all kind of suspected, but this year is kind of confirmed that he is not good. The team doesn't trust him, and all of these receivers cannot be trusted either because you can't trust the quarterback whatsoever. As for the Denver Broncos side of the ball, Jerry Jeudy kind of showing some signs of life with Brett Rypien at quarterback. Apparently, Brett Rypien able to perform better than Russell Wilson. Let's talk about it. But
just ripping, just so you know, he pronounces it ripping.
Oh, it's ripping.
He's ripping it out there, dude.
Nah, I fuck with that actually. I fuck with that hat. He's ripping it. All right, so Brett ripping. Able to get Jerry Jeudy out there. Greg Dulcich looking like a startable tight end in fantasy. This is something that Eric and I had talked about in our last video. Do you have anything else you want to say about Greg Dulcich? Because I didn't watch any of this game. I'm not watching a Jets Broncos game. I'm sorry, guys, but
I didn't watch it either. Going to be totally honest, but yeah, Greg Dulcich actually showing some really encouraging signs here. He had a really good week in his first week back off of IR last week. He scored and was pretty heavily targeted in limited use. He got more involved this week, almost a full workload. I think he got 6 targets, over 50 yards. He didn't score, and scoring is going to be few and far between for this Denver offense. But what he's producing right now is really all you can ask for at the tight end position.
Yeah, 100%. And then when it comes to Mr. Cortland Sutton, very disappointing. And it's not even like it's a situation where he's not getting the volume, because he had 9 targets, only able to turn that into 3 catches for like 33 yards. Just not impressive. This team is just hard to really root for, and this backfield doesn't make it any better. It's just a complete and utter shit show. We don't know who's doing what. The team doesn't know who's doing what. I'm staying away from this Denver Broncos backfield 100%. I don't know about that. Yeah. And as for the wide receivers, I guess Jerry Jeudy is the better option right now than Cortland Sutton, because Cortland Sutton is just not getting it done.
Yeah, I don't think it's really Sutton's fault either. But yeah, like you said, it's hard to trust any of these guys outside of Dulcich, and even him, who really knows. So yeah, I would stay away from most of the Jets and the Broncos if you have better options. But let's get into a much more high-scoring affair, the 49ers versus the Chiefs. The Chiefs take it to the 49ers 44-23. Mahomes goes off for over 400 yards. Bunch of wide receivers go off for pretty big games for the Chiefs. McCaffrey makes his debut in San Francisco and looks pretty good. What are your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, my biggest takeaways from this, Patrick Mahomes, as per usual, he's a fucking beast. He's a dog. 400 yards, and they made it look easy, honestly. Juju Smith-Schuster had a great game, able to back it up again with another great game. So it's looking like he might actually be, a great option in this Kansas City offense. I think he's actually getting that lead receiver role. MVS able to make things happen too. But Mecole Hardman able to catch 1 touchdown and then score twice on the ground, 3 touchdowns total. Do you think that's going to continue going forward? I think it was like the riding the hot hand type of situation, and Mecole just had a really good game. I don't think anybody should be scrambling to go pick up Mecole Hardman.
No. So I think it's still going to be tough to predict who has the big games in this offense. Juju is looking encouraging with 2 back-to-back weeks, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
But when the Chiefs score 44 points and Mahomes goes off for 400 yards, everybody's going to eat. That's just what happens. It's not going to happen every week, but it's a really good offense. Patrick Mahomes is really good. So we're going to see more games like this. It's just going to be hard to predict going into it.
100% agree. And then, as per usual, I am avoiding the Kansas City Chiefs backfield, because right now they don't really know what they're doing back there. Everything's kind of split. Clyde Edwards-Helaire somehow able to find the end zone again. I don't know how he does it, honestly. It's it's incredible. Isaiah Pacheco actually got the nod to start this week, which wasn't able to do a whole lot with it, but I kind of like the way he runs the ball, honestly, and still able to get it done efficiently on the ground as well.
Yeah, he's definitely fun to watch. He's a tough runner, but as a fantasy producer, I don't think he's somebody we can count on either.
Yeah, not until we see anything more, but it's like you said, it's hard to call with this Kansas City Chiefs team because they are so good. It's just whoever really pops off that week, but it is great to see that they are coming out here and performing like this. And for San Francisco, like you said with McCaffrey, at least to me, he looked by and far the best running back in that backfield. And like you said, I'm excited to see what he looks like when he gets that full playbook and full workload and just gets a full week of practice under his belt with this team, because he showed up on Friday, traded on Friday, showed up on Saturday?
Traded, I think it was all on Thursday. He got traded on Thursday, got on a plane on Thursday, tried to learn the playbook on the plane, showed up to practice, and that was the last day of practice. So, yeah.
So I'm excited to see what Kyle Shanahan and Christian McCaffrey can get done. Also, sort of a weird reunion for those two as well. Mike Shanahan having worked with Ed McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's dad. So just kind of cool to see how stuff works like that. Life is poetry type shit, Don't want to get too philosophical and shit, So, and Kittle had a great game, great bounce back game for him. Brandon Ayuk leading the team in targets. Did really well as well. Somebody I've been talking about a lot this season, hoping that he could get back to that rookie season form that he had, and it's looking like he is. And Debo, not able to do too much, but we also know after the fact, sort of hampered by a hamstring injury that we're not really sure when it happened. but
Yeah.
it is something he was dealing with in the game, so it makes sense for him to not be super involved.
Yep. The only thing I want to add there is just that we don't really know what this 49ers team is going to look like as far as like how they're going to play against their opponents. But the
Mm-hmm.
past 2 weeks, they've been down and forced to pass a lot. And prior to that, they had just been running the crap out of the ball. So that has inflated their receiving numbers. Maybe that continues going forward. We're not sure. But just, I don't know that that's necessarily their game plan every week.
Agree. Definitely agree there.
Yeah. Let's hustle on to the next one. We got the Chargers versus the Seahawks. Another high-scoring game. The Seahawks put up 37 points to the Chargers 23. Kenneth Walker, man, absolute beast. Just a dog. He keeps putting up these crazy games. Almost goes for 30 points. DK Metcalf gets hurt, but I think we got some encouraging news that he's not done for the season.
Mm-hmm.
For the Chargers side, Justin Herbert and the coordinators, whoever you want to blame it on, they continue to struggle. What are your biggest takeaways in this game?
My biggest takeaways, Kenneth Walker is the truth. He made me look like an absolute idiot. If you guys haven't watched us on TikTok, we do a spin the wheel challenge every week. I picked DK Metcalf over Kenneth Walker. So, I think I lost this week. I don't even really need to check to see. But, yeah, Kenneth Walker's a beast. Metcalf should be back this season. We're not exactly sure when, but it's looking like he doesn't need surgery or anything like that. It's not season ending, so we'll see how they work to get him back on the field. And Marquise Goodwin able to fill in that spot, able to score twice this weekend, 6 catches with 47 yards, I believe, off the top of my head. And the Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert struggling, as you had said, but Austin Eckler taking a huge step up, doing the things that people had drafted him for. Well, what do you think about Austin Eckler and his performance these past couple of weeks? Because he's been nothing really short of amazing, honestly.
He's a wide receiver one at this point.
Yeah.
He's popping off in the passing game. 12 for 96 and a tutty through the air. I think he only got 9 rushes on the ground, but yeah, anybody that doubted him, including myself, I was a little bit nervous that we were starting to see him decline as a player after those first couple of weeks. But nah, man, he's still just as good as he ever was. Still super efficient and crazy production for fantasy. You love to see it.
Hell yeah. And then Mike Williams still able to have a really good game as well. 9 targets, turning that into 7 catches, 86 yards and a touchdown before he went down with an ankle injury. That's going to sideline him for at the very least, 2 weeks, but we aren't that optimistic. Probably going to be somewhere around the 4 to 5 week mark if they want him back at full strength. But yeah, and then Keenan Allen able to return back from injury. Played very limited snaps, but didn't re-aggravate the injury. Was able to have the wherewithal to know, hey, not feeling great. Probably should sit out the rest of this one. And, they did sit him. So hopefully Keenan Allen, after they go through their bye week this next week, able to have another week to heal up, and then he's back at it again right after that. But do you have anything about these two before we move on?
Not too much more. I will say we're going to be putting out a waiver wire TikTok, so go check that out before waiver wires run. A name that's probably going to be mentioned in there is Marquise Goodwin. You brought him up. In a game like this, I wasn't sold. Like immediately after seeing the stat line, he just happened to score twice. Metcalf went down. I don't know if it's repeatable. A guy that I trust on Twitter, I believe it's at CooperFF. I'll have to double check that, but he's saying that he filled in DK Metcalf's role almost 1-for-1. Metcalf went out, and Marquise Goodwin got all the same usage. So if that really is the case, then he's definitely somebody that's worth a pickup if you're in need of wide receiver help.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so we got 2 more games left on the slate. We're almost done here. Sunday night game, Dolphins versus Steelers. This was not a fun game to watch. It seemed like both teams were trying to lose it the whole time. The Dolphins end up winning this game 16-10. Not necessarily fantasy related unless you were starting the Steelers defense, but the Steelers dropped 4 interceptions in this one. This should not have turned out the way that it did. But from a fantasy perspective, what do you got for us, Will?
So, from a fantasy perspective, Raheem Mostert still continuing to be the bell cow in this offense, as we sort of said, early on. But
he was a trade target.
Yeah, he was. Raheem Mostert just carrying the team, pun intended. Hopefully he can stay healthy, though. That's one thing we haven't seen Raheem Mostert really do yet in his career. I'm hoping for the best for him. And, hopefully he can keep this going forward. And Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, both not able to score, but both still able to have really good fantasy football days. They're just both rack monsters. both target monsters. They're gonna get it done regardless. Tyreek Hill 7 catches for 72 yards. Jalen Waddle 4 catches for 88 yards. Just kind of shows what this team can do when they do get the ball to these guys out in open space. And as for Pittsburgh, baby Gronk, Mr. Pratt Fryermuth, able to come back from his concussion and have a great game, 8 catches for 75 yards. George Pickens able to have a good bounce back game, 6 catches, 61 yards and a touchdown. Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool not really able to get it done. We talked about that last week as well when we talked about Chase Claypool going forward. It's really just going to be one of those teams where whoever's doing well, they're probably going to ride the hot hand and go forward with that. And then Najee Harris still continues to disappoint, still continues to have less rushing yards than Daniel Jones. It's just it's bad for anybody who drafted Najee Harris in the first round. Yeah, I mean, do you have anything else for these two? Like you said, it was kind of a boring game, to be honest.
Yeah, not a ton. Hill and Waddle, you continue to start them with confidence. Same for Raheem Mostert. That's all you can really do with Miami. Pittsburgh, Pat Fryermuth, yeah, you start, but it's hard to start anybody else with confidence. Najee's not getting it done. Pickens did have a good week and seems to have shown some rapport with Kenny Pickett. But I'm not sure that this is something that you can continue to expect going forward. Claypool maybe on the trade block. If he does leave, then maybe the target funnel gets a little bit smaller and helps us out in fantasy. But that's all I got with that one. On to our last game on the slate, the Monday night game, Bears versus Patriots. Did not expect this outcome. The Patriots defense has been shutting it down, but they didn't do it last week. The Bears put up 33 points, and in a win over the Patriots, they put up 14. And I had to say this one, man. Justin Fields ain't afraid of no ghosts. Sam Darnold seeing ghosts. All these young quarterbacks seeing ghosts against the Patriots defense. Not Justin Fields. Not Justin Fields, baby. What do you got for us, Will?
Yeah, man. Justin Fields finally able to, I'm not going to say he had a breakout game, but it's about as close to a breakout game for Justin Fields as we can get this season. Justin Fields,
really encouraging.
Yeah, he only threw 1 interception this week, and I couldn't totally say it was his fault. Ended up getting tipped by a lineman. So, Justin Fields able to perform. David Montgomery and not Justin Herbert, Jesus, Khalil Herbert, the other Herbert, combined for almost 30 carries, and they pretty much had identical stat lines when it comes to rushing. Both rushed for 62 yards. David Montgomery able to score a rushing touchdown, while Justin Herbert able to score through the air. That was,
again.
Huh? Did I say Justin Herbert? God damn it!
Yeah.
Khalil Herbert able to score through the air. I'm not cutting that out either. I'm going to leave that in there because I'm fucking stupid. And when it comes to any of the receivers on the Bears, I don't trust any of them. While Justin Fields able to have sort of a breakout game, still not able to get much done through the air. I think he threw for 79 yards and 1 touchdown. So still a very run-dependent team. Defense really stepped up big this game, and they were able to put up a lot of points. For the New England side, which was really fucking weird, Mac Jones got benched after 3 drives for Bailey Zappi, and it looked like Zappi was going to be the guy to, bring the team back. He had scored twice back-to-back. It looked like he was driving, and it just sort of died out. This team is weird because Mac Jones got benched. They talked to Bill Belichick, and they're like, oh, no, this was the plan all along. They're both going to play. Mac will be back in later. Mac never came back. It's strange. Absolutely strange. But when it comes to the backfield for the Patriots, Ramondre Stevenson, able to just dominate, able to score a rushing touchdown, got 8 catches for 59 yards. It's just he's dominating all over the field, honestly. Had 8 more carries than the next best rusher on the team, had 5 more receptions than the next closest receiver, and that's awesome to see because Damian Harris was there. He was fully healthy, and this is still the workload that Ramondre Stevenson got. So those concerns we had coming into this week where stuff was going to get dialed back a lot may not be the issue, may not be the case. And then none of the New England receivers are really worth talking about. I will say Jacoby Myers, kind of, but at the same time, it's like he didn't really. Yeah,
I said he got in the end zone, so that was good. His underlying metrics and his usage is encouraging, but still the passing volume is low, and that led to not too much getting to him.
Yeah, so it's just we hope there's brighter days ahead for the Patriots. They're able to game plan and, sort of right the ship a little bit. But encouraging for Ramondre Stevenson owners for sure to see that he is still getting the lion's share in the backfield and in the receiving game too, apparently. So, yeah, that's all I really got for this game also.
Yeah. And that will wrap us up. If you stuck with us throughout this whole thing, we love you. We appreciate you. Thank you for sticking through it. We got through all those games. I hope that you got some good information out of this. If you did, if you liked it, then drop a like on the video. That would help us out a lot. It'd be much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel. You can see all of our videos coming down the pipeline. We got all sorts of stuff going on social media. We got Twitter. We're hitting you guys up on Sundays with, the pregame news and stuff like that. TikTok, we're popping off over there too. So help us out. Watch our stuff. I kind of took most of what we were going to say. Will, do you have anything else before we get out of here?
Hell yeah, I still got shit to say. You guys make sure you drop some fucking sit starts in the comments, man. Yes. Drop some sit starts. Yes. Drop any fantasy football questions you got. We're giving out free advice. Literally, you've got a question, drop it below. We will answer it. And if you drop a sit start before Wednesday, we'll try to implement it into our video that we record on Thursdays for our sit start videos. So we are going to try to get that out for you guys. Make sure you check the links down below for our TikTok, Twitters, like Eric said. We do some fun stuff over on TikTok. And yeah, that's all I really got. And you can reach out to us on TikTok and Twitter as well with your sit starts. It doesn't have to be down here in the YouTube comments if you're feeling a little shy. You can shoot us a little DM. It's okay. But yeah, that's all I really got, man. If you guys... We love you for making it this far in the video. And yeah, have a great week, and we'll see you again later this week. Peace.
I'm winning again. How could I lose? I was born just to win. Could never lose, so I'm winning again. I'm winning again. I'm winning again. Minute by minute, I'm meeting the end.